So the M1A1 has been surpassed by its predecessor, so much so that even Gaijin has realized that, and that is what we are going to go ahead and talk about in today's Talking Head video. Now, please keep in mind, this video is based mostly off my own personal experiences, as well as opinions and facts based off the game itself, and not real-world stats. I might say something that might not be factual in the real world, so you have to bear with me, okay, guys? War Thunder is kind of a weird place when it comes to that. So, with that being said, as I kind of had to say that disclaimer, let's go ahead and talk about these two vehicles in particular, because a lot of it doesn't really make sense, but I understand it in the eyes of War Thunder. Now, the M1A1 Abrams was introduced in update 1.87, whereas the IPM1 was introduced in update 1.81, effectively making both of these vehicles a little over 3 years old, which is quite a long time for War Thunder. Yeah, I know, right? I remember being super hyped up about the M1 Abrams, and when the M1A1 came in, I thought, yes, this is great. This is the end-all, be-all vehicle, right? But it only improved in one area, and that is in firepower, while taking hits in other areas such as mobility. Now, the protection of the IPM1 and the M1A1 are effectively the same. They are the same exact thing, same layout, everything for that matter, except that the A1 has a 120mm M256 gun as opposed to the IPM1's M68A1. But the IPM1 is a vehicle that has gone through some improvements over its lifetime recently, and I say within the last 6 months. The IPM1 received the M900 APFSDS, which is probably one of, if not the best 105mm Sabo in the game. And then you have the M1A1, which only fires the M829, which is on par with DM33 and 3BM42, sort of. Both of these vehicles have seen or have gone through changes throughout its entire life. The IPM1 is now battle rating 10.3, but in my opinion, the IPM1 is superior to the M1A1 in several crucial areas, which I'll go ahead and outline. But before I go ahead and do that, jumping over to the actual hangar itself, this is my M1A1 Abrams, as you see right here. This was more or less for the thumbnail purposes. Of course, the turret is completely lopsided, and the eyes kind of drive me nuts. But you know what? I did the best I could, right? But if we take a look at the performance of the vehicle itself, right? This is a 57.2-ton tank versus a 55.3. Now, that may not seem like a whole lot, but when you have a vehicle like this, it kind of makes a lot of sense when it comes to the overall mobility and performance of the vehicle itself, but that's not really what I want to talk about. It's the firepower. You have a vehicle that, with this current crew, the M829, right, as you see right here, it's basically on par with DM33, 491 base pen, 284 at 60 with gradual drop-off as you go significantly further. Generation 1 thermal sights, laser rangefinder, yeah, right, all the goodies. But the problem with the M1A1 Abrams is that you have a 6.9 second loader with, of course, non-expert crew. It's about 6.4 up to 6 seconds with an aced crew, right? 6 seconds is no joke. But when you have the IPM1, which does have the M900, of course, 522 base pen, 302 at 60 with gradual drop-off at distance, Generation 1 thermal sights, you have a lighter vehicle, and it fires with an expert crew every 5.3 seconds, 5 seconds with an aced crew, which is incredibly efficient. And to mention again, this is a 55-ton vehicle, which means that it has a better, I guess, power to weight ratio, if I'm using that correctly. And it carries all the same capabilities as the M1A1 Abrams, while being lighter and having superior firepower. And to top it off, they have now been switched. Check this out. The M1A1 is behind the IPM1 and a full tier below it. This is now a rank 7 vehicle, whereas the M1A1 is now a rank 6, which is highly unusual, seeing that this was more or less in real life supposed to be the superior version to the IPM1. Now, that's as far as I'm going to go when it comes to realism. But in War Thunder, this was a vehicle that is supposed to be superior to the IPM1, but now sits behind it. I don't really believe this is going to stay here for too long, thankfully. I think it might actually switch over as Gaijin decides to introduce better firepower for each of the vehicles and kind of buff each of them, as well as maybe even increase their BRs to their respective levels as they get better over time. But let's be real. The IPM1 has been my go-to vehicle over the M1A1 for the longest time. Now, at top tier, it is the vehicle that I bring out over the M1A1, which kind of begs the question, is the M1A1 kind of an irrelevant vehicle nowadays? I would go as far as to say is yes, it is. Why would you want to bring out the M1A1 when it has less firepower? It's slower, but it has the exact same capabilities as its predecessor, although the IPM1 has significantly better firepower, because M900 does have more or less similar post-pen characteristics to the M829, at least in my own observations, both in and out of the game. Albeit, the M829 is a bigger Sabo. It's a bit faster. It goes about, I think, about 170 meters a second faster over the M900, which means that the M900 does get a little bit less of a flat trajectory, but in truth, that doesn't really mean too much. You're already going over 1,500 meters a second in just raw penetration velocity. I guess that didn't make sense, but you guys know what I mean. It's a very fast shell. That extra 170 is something you will notice, but for the most part, I would rather take just raw penetration and firepower over just having a vehicle that is, or at least a shell type that goes a little bit faster, in my opinion, which makes the IPM1's M900, as well as its reload rate, superior to that of the M1A1. I know I'm kind of going in circles here really quick, but I'm trying to put an emphasis on how I believe that the M1A1 is now, in my honest opinion, a mostly irrelevant vehicle, and it's one that I would even go as far as to say that if you don't have a spot for it in your lineup, I would say avoid it over the IPM1, because you are going to have a far better experience with that M900 over the M829 found in the M1A1. Now, this again is subject to change. I really hope Gaijin does introduce better firepower to the M1A1, maybe giving it the A1, which it did actually fire, and of course, moving this vehicle up to its respective battle rating. But ever since the M1A1 HC came into the game, it really did make this vehicle very, very irrelevant, and it's something that has, at least from what I've noticed, been mostly forgotten in War Thunder. But this is where I leave it off to you guys. What do you think? Does the M1A1 deserve to go out like this? Does it really deserve to be forgotten as what once was America's top tier MBT several years ago? Or is it something you maybe don't even care about because you play with the IPM1, which at this given point in time is the superior vehicle and is a worthy, at least my opinion, a worthy backup to the HC, as well as the M1A2. Now, to those who are listening to me, I'm sorry, guys. I'm still very phlegmy. I just got over COVID. I just tested back negative on my recent test, which means I'm all in the clear and I can finally stop quarantining. But oh boy, man, is my voice really rough, and just everything else after that is pretty rough for the most part. But again, feel free to let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below about the M1A1 and the IPM1, and what do you think about these changes? I want to know your opinion. Feel free to share this with your friends, talk about it, let them know exactly what's going on. Plus, it helps me out with the algorithm, and, you know, all the likes and comments really does help me out a ton as well. And yeah, that's honestly all I got for you. So if you guys happen to have enjoyed everything, feel free to let me know. Like, subscribe if you want to. If you want to go ahead and support the channel, you guys know how to in the easiest possible way by using my War Thunder affiliate link. You get 3% off your vehicle packs. You also get my in-game decal, and that same 3% does support me as a creator in War Thunder. And to that, I say to you, thank you so much for supporting the channel in that way. So yeah, anyways, that's my last spiel, guys. Thank you so much for checking this out. Again, let me know what you think, and I'll see you not only in the next video or even the streams, but in War Thunder itself. Until next time.